Hello, everyone. I'm Godfrey Nolan, here to talk about my favorite new project, marketing automation. I dedicated the past year to mastering various open AI APIs. My New Year's resolution: automate everything. As a business owner overseeing a team of 50, it's often challenging to get everything done, so I decided to start with automating our marketing. Last year, I realized our marketing efforts just weren't cutting it, especially when it comes to LinkedIn. It's tough directing someone else on what content to post. It should ideally be an executive stakeholder. I'll share some techniques I've been using to improve our numbers, focusing primarily on LinkedIn since that's where our business thrives. But don't worry, these techniques can apply to other platforms like Instagram or Facebook too. I initially attempted to use Hootsuite's API, which would allow us to post across platforms. However, we were unable to gain traction on either Facebook or Instagram. So we decided to concentrate on LinkedIn. Today, I'll take you through my journey and findings over the last few months. Building on my New Year's resolution, I've successfully automated our marketing schedule. We run 2 meetups per month, one focused on OpenAI and the other on drone development. Each of these are transformed into 2 blog posts a month through a semi-automated process. The schedule includes personal posts on Mondays and Tuesdays, ad hoc posts on Wednesdays for events, meetings, etc., and blog post shares on Thursdays and Fridays. All of this is powered by a handy cron job automation and ChatGPT that inputs an energetic spin to our messages. I've seen considerable results over the last 90 days and advise that automation is a must to keep up the traction. Further, platforms like Hoot can help manage and synchronize posts to multiple marketing channels. Let me now show you how you could do this for your platforms. All right, let's kick off with the more straightforward process, which is setting up blogs. Much of what applies here is also relevant to our second task, adapting for meetup.com, albeit slightly more complex. Essentially, we need an RSS feed for this operation, an incredibly simple syndicate of sorts. Now, based on your platform, typically a plugin should solve the problem. For instance, WordPress and Framer have dedicated plugins for this. Instead of auto-generating, I use the blog image, ensuring consistency. Then ChatGPT takes over, crafting the message for LinkedIn. Initially, I would verify the message before allowing the bot to post. However, now it's done automatically. Nevertheless, always ensure you're comfortable with the generated language. You'll also need a LinkedIn access token for posting, and voila, an automated operation. However, be ready to adjust a few things to get it up and running smoothly, keeping in mind that the Microsoft-owned LinkedIn's API is well documented to guide you through. In an earlier meetup, we talked about our process in how we record the presentation and then use that video to generate the blog. This automated workflow transforms your YouTube videos into engaging blog posts with minimal manual intervention. This saves hours per week in content repurposing. It also ensures consistent brand messaging across platforms. Just as importantly, it maintains regular posting schedule even during busy periods. Google rewards consistency. And finally, it increases content reach through this dual channel distribution. Our website is developed using Framer, and there's a simple RSS plugin that lists all our blogs. It notifies people when we have a new blog, but I'm using it to pull the important info to post it to LinkedIn to increase visits to the website. Using Feed Parser, we can extract crucial elements like the title, the link, the descriptive text, and any accompanying images, such as the Framer user content, PNG provided here. Although RSS feeds may seem somewhat outdated, they're still widely used for their ability to notify subscribers of new blog posts. As always, I ask ChatGPT to develop a code that reads an RSS feed. It chose the Python library feed parser for this task, helping us to extract the title, the link, and the URL of the blog. I also asked it to write code to download the associated image. It's a simple call to OpenAI to get it to generate the message we just passed in the title and the URL of the blog. One caveat: ChatGPT cannot generate its own code due to its training on earlier API versions of OpenAI. For a detailed understanding of the format, I recommend referencing our past meetup sessions. I constantly update my system content message for a more personalized result by providing examples of my previous posts. The outcome: a unique LinkedIn post fashioned in your voice. Okay, we're more than halfway. Now we need to generate an access token for LinkedIn and then post the message. For this, we need to visit LinkedIn's developer website. Go to developer.linkedin.com and create an app, you'll need a LinkedIn company page to be able to do this. We're calling ours Meetup Automation. Click on the products page. You need to add share, advertising, and sign in products to be able to share your post on LinkedIn personal or company pages. There are lots of other products and APIs if you're trying to do something else. Click on Docs and Tools, and then click on OAuth Token Tools in the drop-down. Next, click on the Create Token button. Choose the Meetup Automation app. It'll ask you what scope to give the token. Click them all. Finally, you're going to be redirected to a login screen, and once you're successfully logged into LinkedIn, you should be able to see the access token. A couple caveats after doing this multiple times: copy the access token, not the refresh token, and put it in your config or environment file. Secondly, if for whatever reason you add a new product, then regenerate your access token. And lastly, we want to post the image and ChatGPT message to LinkedIn. Posting our LinkedIn message is a 4-stage process. First up, we need our user ID for our LinkedIn profile or an organization ID for our company postings. In this case, I'm dealing with a personal ID for a blog post. To get this, use the LinkedIn API user info call as shown. The highlighted sub gives us our ID. This will fail if you don't have the right products, so double check from the earlier list. We need to register the upload of our image using the Assets API, passing in your user, or in this case, an organization ID. The previous call will give us an upload URL where we can send our image. Using the image we've downloaded from the blog, the URL is in the RSS feed. We can now send a put request to the upload URL and upload the image. And lastly, we create a post with our ChatGPT text and the posted image. And here's the post on LinkedIn. The generated message is better than what I'd create. It's got a much more effective use of hashtags and emojis, and the overall look and feel seems a lot more professional. Now let's turn our focus to the slightly harder Meetup event automation. For the Meetup event posting, it's essentially the same as our blog posting, with a few differences. This time we'll target an organization rather than an individual ID, so the post will appear on the company page. We also need a meetup.com access token, and we're going to need a GraphQL query to pull the event information. Here's the event page for our meetup. I created the meetup image on midjourney.com and generated the copy using ChatGPT from a brief description of what I wanted to present. We need to authenticate using OAuth and then do an API query. Unfortunately, meetup.com uses GraphQL, which is more complicated than REST API. There aren't a ton of examples on github.com, which means ChatGPT isn't great at generating the query code. To apply for an access token, you first need to be a paid Meetup account, create an app we called our automation, and then wait for it to be approved. The auth client's URL is in the resources section at the end of the presentation. LinkedIn do all the hard work for you, but Meetup makes you do the full authentication process. Enter your website and redirect URL. I just put in a fake redirect. Cop this and your client key and client secret and save it in your config file. The goal here is to retrieve our authorization code and then use that to get our access token to make the API calls. Here's where we are in the process. I asked ChatGPT to write the Python to authenticate with Meetup. And it gave me something like this. OAuth has an initial call where you get an authorization code from Meetup. And we use that to get the access token, which we can use to make our API calls. When it authenticates, it's going to send you to the redirect URI, which doesn't exist, but we can pull the access token from the output. Save the Meetup access token in your config file. LinkedIn's access token lasts for about a month. This one lasts a lot longer. The Meetup query uses GraphQL. Here it is running in the Meetup playground, showing the call and response. I gave ChatGPT the API spec and asked it for the GraphQL query and tested it in the playground. After a lot of tweaking, this gives me back the group event, time and date, short URL to register, and the images. Again, get ChatGPT to come up with the text for the LinkedIn posts. You might want to give it several examples of your previous posts in the prompt so it can find your voice. Again, we'll need to navigate through LinkedIn's simpler two-factor authentication. Use the Meetup automation app we created earlier, or you could create a new one for company postings. Add the share, advertising, and sign-in products. Click on Docs and Tools, and then click on Create Token and copy it into your config file. Okay, let's post to LinkedIn, same as we did with the blog posting. We need the organization ID. You can either use the Python code or you can find it by visiting your company page. If you view this page as an admin, this ID is conveniently located in the URL. Here's the final image posted to our company page. I really like how ChatGPT adds lots of emojis and hashtags. I think it pops a lot more than what we were doing in the past. My New Year's resolution to automate everything. I've merged all the code into a unified application, encapsulating all the different steps in my app.py. This app relies on a few necessary libraries outlined in requirements.txt, like the feed parser, requests, and OpenAI. The application runs as a timed job on render. This requires a cron expression that tells the website when to run the code. Use ChatGPT to generate the expression. It's important to measure our success through metrics. Good news is the overall numbers on YouTube are all very encouraging. Everything is definitely going in the right direction when compared to the previous 6 months. However, the number of viewers are still relatively small, so I'm hoping this new technique will see a similar increase in the next 6 months. If you want to figure out how we convert YouTube videos to a blog, then check out the first resource. Next, we have Microsoft's LinkedIn API developer documentation. The third link is specifically about sharing posts. We have the meetup documentation for making GraphQL requests. Lastly, there's a link to all the code we talked about today. If you liked our video, then there's more where that came from. Scan the code and join our newsletter to stay connected with the latest innovations from Reese.